So, really good evening if you're joining us on YouTube, and indeed if you're joining us here on Zoom tonight. It's really good to be gathered together as we delve into Foray Requiem this evening. It was great to be able to run through Rutter's Requiem last week, and so now we're going to start kind of going through in a bit more depth the foray, and we'll and my hope this evening is that we'll look at three movements. If we get onto another and we get onto a fourth, then we'll have done really well. And then so over the course of the next few weeks, we'll cover all the movements, and then it might be nice to do a similar thing as we did with the Rutter, and we'll aim to in 3 or 4 weeks time to sing through the whole of the work. So that's the kind of broad picture of where we're headed with it. But first of all, we'll get ourselves warmed up, and then I'll explain a bit further where we're going to head. Hopefully, you can hear me and hear the piano. Okay, excellent. Getting thumbs up. So let's just start with a gentle hum up and down a fifth. So simply. Good, now we're going to go down the scale to that lovely, raw, warm, round ooh we've spoken about over the last few weeks. So, ooh, 3, and great, okay, and let's just get the lips moving a little now. Good, la 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 la, in a kind of nice bright Spanish la 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 kind of way. La 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 la. Great. Da 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 da. And to really concentrate on making sure, as much as you can, that the D's are all voiced D, that we're not muddling our unvoiced sound of a T versus the voiced consonant of a D. So there should always be a bit of voice to it. Da 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 da, and da 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 da. Marvelous, very good. Sopranos and altos will carry on up one more, and for the last one of mama 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 mama. Okay, good. Just have a free sign around the range. So simply sing. Let's try that. Sing. If you're ever feeling vocally tired, it's a really useful exercise to do. There's no pressure put on your larynx as you do that, and it just helps just really stretch that muscle. So we're particularly if you're finding that you've been singing an awful lot in a small range, then all of a sudden when we come to sing out of that range, then it can be quite hard work. So having a quick siren around the range is a really useful way of just freeing up the larynx. So let's just siren once more. Sing. Okay, great. Now I'm going to dive straight in, a brief warm-up this evening, because I want us to get cracking with the foray. So first thing I'm just seeing if Simon's with us. I can't see Simon. I imagine some of you have got the Ratcliffe edition in front of you, a hard copy. I heard there was some discussion just before about I guess DCS copies and what have you. So if you've got your own copy, that's great. If you don't have a copy, don't worry. I'll share the music on the screen. However, the digital copy I've been able to get hold of isn't the Ratcliffe, nor is it the version, the Rutter edition, which I know we're going to be using the text underlay and some of the notes from that. So along the way, you'll notice on the screen a few moments where I've written in. I'll just show you, which might then have influence on the Ratcliffe as well, where I've just kind of crossed out some moments, and I've just lightly annotated a few moments along the way. You have to excuse my squiggle, it's hard writing with a mouse, but I've tried to add in those annotations on the screen too as we go. So my hope this evening is that we'll look at the first three movements of Fauré Requiem, and I think it's just worth mentioning before we start working on the Requiem, because I imagine many of us are quite familiar with it, and many of us will have sung it many times before, and sometimes the beauty of the piece can be lost through familiarity. And also, I had this realization of how Fauré was just quite different to the rest of his contemporaries. If you think that he was writing at the same time as Stravinsky and as Ravel, then the music that he's written here is so different to what we might have expected from Stravinsky or Ravel. And there's this great sense of simplicity and being careful with the harmonies that are used. There's a simplicity in that, and simplicity in his musical melody writing, and I think that ought to have influence on how we sing it, of being aware of that actually everything here is being very carefully placed. There's no great kind of waves of colour that you might expect with Debussy or Ravel, but here every note has a purpose. I'm not saying that it's not the case with Ravel, but you know the point I'm trying to make here, that it's so carefully and simply written, and so I think our job really is to interpret the simplicity of the writing into a performance which is really sensitive about realizing that simplicity. So all that being said, we ought to dive into it and actually get singing. We're going to sing to a recording with the 16, largely because the 16 are a wonderful choir, but it happens that this recording has got Roddy Williams on it, and I could listen to Roddy Williams all day long, and so we'll enjoy the moments when he appears on this, I'm sure. So why don't we have a sing of the introit and the Kyrie together, and then I'll go back and we'll have a look at a few moments of this. So we're going to begin at the beginning. Okay, lovely, thank you. Now, along the way here, these wants to be no sense of writ from 69 onwards. We certainly see within with foray songs there's just this metronomic movement in the accompaniment, and certainly here we want to have that sense of being really quite metronomic about the way in which we approach this. You'll see at bar 69 in the Rutter edition, which I know Simon's using for word underlay. 69 as it's marked in on the screen in front of you. There's a change there to Kyrie instead of eleison, and I imagine that's a change as well in the Ratcliffe. There's a little moment here at bar 49 where again there's a change from the Rutter edition, changing that final et to minim rather than a crotchet, and so just try to make that clear on the screen for you as well. And a bar, let's find the appropriate bar number here. Here we are. So bar 38 onwards, as it's marked on the screen, exaudi. You'll notice this the dynamic markings here, and clearly there's a good old jump from the fortissimo to the piano, back up to the fortissimo, back down to the piano, and only the crescendo or the diminuendo is only marked for the final beat. And ordinarily I spend most of my life saying whenever we see diminuendo, remember it's just an instruction for the future, and to not to let that affect the dynamic at the very beginning. But of course here we need to do the opposite, because over the course of that crotchet, to go from piano up to fortissimo and vice versa is nigh impossible. So actually we need to have a sense of the crescendo actually starting a little bit earlier, and the diminuendo starting a little bit earlier. So there's a sense of the dynamic shift, not only in the final crotchet, but actually just preceding that. Otherwise, it's just not very clear. Sopranos, we might just. Was it just something in the chat? Oh, Ratcliffe edition does not have bar numbers. Oh, helpful. Are your figures the same as the copy in front of me? Is exaudi figure F?
Yes, the letters are the same.
Fine, excellent. I'll use the figures and as our reference point. Thank you for that. Okay, so figure just proceeding bar before F. Jerusalem. That's just extended again in the Rutter by a crotchet to a dotted minim, as opposed to the minim that's marked. Let's just pick up in this the second half from the soprano lead at 2 bar. Well, let's see if we can pick up around figure E. And for the soprano part that follows that, and then everybody thinking as we arrive at figure F, let's just put into place that the crescendo and the diminuendo arriving slightly before as it's marked. So actually there's time for that journey to begin. Let's just see where this is at. Let's go take us back a little. Here we go. Good. We will. I will just double check with Simon if he's wanting to go with the rutter extension here at figure G up to a minim. It feels a bit uncomfortable to me, but it depends if we're going with the rutter or not. So just be aware of that, because that might be the case at bar 49, which is the first bar of G. So let's just take us back a little further now. Tenors, as you arrive, let's find a figure for you. 6 before C. This section here, tenors, as you arrive 4 before C. Requiem aeternam dona eis Domine. That lovely light touch to the singing. We're really thinking about it being in the head. It's marked that it's going to be singing this sweetly, so I'd interpret that as being as lyrical as you can. Da, 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 da. Okay, so you've got a really good sense of phrase about it. Your crescendo, let's really enjoy that journey. I've marked in here, here rather clumsily, a bracketed diminuendo, so we may indeed just let that pull away a little earlier, as Rutter's indicated. So tenors, let's just try this section with your most beautiful lyrical singing. So here. Here's 2 bars. If you're wondering just about where to breathe here, gents, in this edition that's on the screen, you can see there's a slur marked kind of covering a 2-bar phrase. However, life is made up of 4-bar phrases, and certainly if I were conducting this, the tempo would be such that we'd certainly aim to do that aim to have these 4-bar phrases. So the overarching picture is of these longer phrases. So let's for now work on that premise that we're going to be aiming for those longer phrases. Let's just sing that once more, then, gents. So sopranos with a similar idea, that lovely sweet sound. Thank you. Okay, right at the very beginning. almost wants that sense of like we're a choir making up a piano. Does that make sense? You can hear this almost like it could be Rachmaninoff at the beginning. This lovely quality of. Just kind of sits, delicately placing each note, and that'll give it a lovely quality. If we just think about almost like we're just being played like a piano, each note being delicately pressed. So let's just try that right from the very beginning. Okay. Clearly, you'll notice here I've crossed off these the tied quavers. So let's stick with that. That's again we're just reflecting the rutter addition. Isn't it magical here, where all that's shifting really is tenor 1, and through that a semitone move from tenor 1. Suddenly lights added in, and so tenors, let's ensure that your semitone step nowhere else in the chord are those two notes found. So you're all important. Without you, the harmony doesn't move. It stays exactly as it was. So let's really ensure those steps are really good and clear. Never before has the tenor 1 been more important. That's maybe not quite true, but nonetheless, you're very important here. Before we move on then, let's just go right from the very beginning and put all those things into place. Going to carry straight on into the second movement. Should we just indulge ourselves for a minute and just hear a few seconds of Roderick? I'm sorry, Roderick, I'm going to stop you there. Too delicious. A few years ago I did Dream of Gerontius with my youth choir at the proms and with Simon Rattle and the Vienna Philharmonic. It was the first time the Vienna Philharmonic had played the Dream of Gerontius, where Rattle conducted it. And Roddy Williams was singing, and it was just the most marvelous thing. And I could listen to him sing all day. Let's have a little look then. I'm just trying to find a figure. So this is figure C, 1, 2, 3 after C, or going into 3 after C. So sopranos. sing that together. So 2 and 3. Because the G natural feels kind of unexpected, doesn't have to. There, so it just needs careful placement. Basses. As you diminuendo at that chromatic scale, don't let the diminuendo affect your pitch. Oh, do, 3 and 4 and. Great. And finally, tenors. So together, tenors. 1 and. Okay, good. Thank you. Margaret, you might need to. I've just noticed for some reason the YouTube stream seems to have gone down this evening. I'm not quite sure, and it's just, or it simply says an error occurred. Please try again later. Which isn't dreadfully helpful. But so you have to send my apologies to those people who have joined us on.
How many were there?
3.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to end that now because it's not doing anything.